Okay, so have you ever, like, been in this situation where you see your friend suddenly getting close with, like, your ex, and you're just sitting there thinking, wait, is that even, like, allowed?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
happened to all of us.
Mm.
Well, today we're going to dive into this really kind of surprisingly complex world of dating your ex's friend. You guys sent in this YouTube video uh, titled Dating Your Ex's Friend, The Legal Lowdown from the Legal Strategist channel.
Oh, interesting.
And honestly, it's got me thinking too, like, what does the law actually say about all this?
Yeah.
And more importantly, what should you keep in mind if you're ever thinking about, actually going there?
I think what's so interesting about this is that people often get so caught up in like the social norms of it all, right?
Yeah.
The potential drama, like the thought of betrayal and just the awkwardness of the whole thing that they forget there's this whole other layer of like legal considerations too.
Yeah.
And I think this video does a great job of addressing some of those concerns.
Right. And off the bat, the video reassures us. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, you know what? In most cases, there's actually no law against dating your ex's friend.
Right.
But, and this is where it starts to get really interesting, the video goes on to outline some pretty crucial exceptions.
So these exceptions really highlight how things can go from like a social faux pas to a full-on legal issue.
Right.
For example, if you're using this new relationship to harass your ex, like let's say by constantly showing up wherever they are, maybe sending them threatening messages or something like that,
Yeah.
that's where it crosses that line and becomes a legal no-no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it totally makes sense, right? Like, the law is there to protect people from actual harm, not to, like, police who they choose to date.
right, exactly.
So let's say you're not trying to, like, harass your ex at all. You're genuinely interested in their friend,
Mhm.
and everything is, totally above board. This video then throws in this really interesting hypothetical what if. And it says, what if this friend you're dating is also your coworker?
Oh, okay, now that's where things can get tricky.
Yeah.
Because suddenly you're not just dealing with hurt feelings, but potentially like workplace policies and conflicts of interest.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like, for instance, some companies have like non-fraternization clauses that might specifically say you can't date coworkers, especially if one person has like a position of authority over the other.
That's so true. I hadn't even thought about the whole workplace angle.
Yeah.
And then, of course, things get, I mean, infinitely more complex if kids are involved.
Oh, absolutely.
So the video has a whole section on co-parenting complications, and that really highlights how the legal stakes are raised when kids are in the picture.
Yeah, because in these cases, family courts have this kind of fundamental operating principle,
Right.
which is that, the well-being of the child comes before like everything else.
Yeah.
Judges don't really care about your romantic life, you know? They are there to focus on making sure the child is safe and stable. So if this new relationship with your ex's friend starts to like disrupt custody arrangements, or it causes undue stress to your ex, and by extension your child, that's when the court might actually step in and say, hey, we need to look at this.
Okay, so knowing all of this, what can people actually do? What are some concrete steps they can take to avoid getting into legal trouble if they find themselves in this situation? This video offers some really, really practical advice.
Yeah, and one of the biggest pitfalls to be aware of is defamation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because it's so easy to fall into that trap of like bad-mouthing your ex, especially when you have a messy breakup.
Totally.
But remember, even those offhand comments that might seem harmless can actually have some serious legal consequences if they end up being false or damaging to your ex's reputation.
That makes sense. And then what about digital privacy?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what about social media posts or text messages? I mean, could that stuff be used against you legally?
Totally. In this digital age, you have to be so careful about what you share online, especially when you're feeling all these big emotions.
Yeah.
So think twice, right? Before you post those angry rants or share any personal details that could be misconstrued or even used against your ex later on.
So it sounds like the big takeaway here is, tread carefully and be aware of all the potential legal ramifications of this kind of relationship.
Right.
But what if things escalate, even if you're doing your best? Like, what if your ex starts making threats or the situation at work becomes really, really difficult?
Then it's time to bring in a professional.
Yeah.
Get some legal advice.
Yeah.
Right. Don't try to handle all this complexity on your own. A lawyer can really help you understand your rights and options and ultimately, make sure you're protected.
So to recap, dating your ex's friend isn't automatically illegal, but it's a situation that definitely needs some careful thought and awareness of all those potential legal issues.
And here's something for everyone to consider. Imagine the tables were turned. If you were the friend in this situation, how would you feel about your friend dating your ex?
Hmm.
Would it make you question their loyalty? Would it make you question their trustworthiness?
Oh, that's such a good point to end on. It's not even just about the legal stuff. It's about understanding all these complicated relationships and thinking about the emotional impacts of our choices.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And remember, stay informed, stay savvy, and most importantly, just try to avoid any unnecessary drama.
Great advice.